I had already said no, not in a heated phone call, not in a message written and rewritten at midnight, just a quiet decline, tapped through an app. On a Tuesday evening while my daughter was doing homework at the kitchen table, $2,600, gone from their request like it had never arrived. She looked up once and asked me what I was doing on my phone. I told her I was handling something small. She went back to her worksheet fractions. She's been struggling with the ones where the denominator changes. My parents hadn't called yet. They didn't know that their names were no longer listed under emergency contacts at her school. They didn't know that the standing pickup authorization, the one they'd used 6 times last year, had been quietly revoked 3 days prior. There is a science fair in 11 days. My mother has attended every one since kindergarten. Her name is not on the approved visitor form this year, and they had no idea that the form had already been submitted. I am not someone who cuts people off easily. I spent 11 years being the one who showed up. I drove my father to his cardiology appointments when he lost his license, twice a month, 40 minutes each way, rearranging my work schedule without being asked. I co-signed a loan in 2019 that I spent the next 18 months quietly worrying about. Every birthday in my family received a card with something inside it. Not a text. A card, with a stamp, mailed 3 days early so it would arrive on time. I did these things without scorecards. I did them because that is what I understood family to mean. While I was doing that, my parents were building something else. My stepbrother has 2 kids, a boy, 7, and a girl who just turned 5. In the past 3 years, my parents have attended 14 of their events. I know the number because I counted, sometime around last October, when I was trying to understand what I was actually looking at: recitals, birthday parties, a t-ball tournament in a town 40 minutes further than my house. My daughter is 8. She made them a drawing last February, the whole family. Everyone labeled in her careful second-grade handwriting. The sun in the upper right corner, the way kids always draw it. She asked me to give it to them the next time I saw them. It has been sitting on my kitchen counter for 6 months. They have been to my house twice since then. Neither time did they ask about it. Neither time did they take it home. It is still there, corners curling slightly now, from the humidity. The cancellation. The text came on a Wednesday. For days before the party, something came up. We won't be able to make it Saturday. Sorry, honey. 11 words. No explanation attached to something. No suggestion of when they might see her instead. No mention of dropping off a gift, mailing a card, calling to sing happy birthday. Just 11 words and a period, and the small, blunt fact of their absence. I read it standing in the cereal aisle at the grocery store. Party supplies already in the cart. I put my phone in my pocket and picked up the brand of crackers my daughter likes. She asked me that evening, while I was rolling crepe paper around the banister, whether Grandma was coming. I told her Grandma got busy. She nodded the way children do. When they're accepting an answer, they don't entirely believe, and went back to choosing which balloon color she wanted by the front door. That night, after she was asleep, I screenshot the text. I opened my phone's photo album and created a new folder. I typed the name without thinking about it too carefully. I named it Evidence. I told myself it was just for reference. I almost believed that. The photos. The party started at 11. By 10:40 I had blown up 19 balloons, arranged them by color the way she'd asked, and cut the cake into portions small enough for each. The kitchen smelled like buttercream, and the specific kind of chaos that only exists when 7 children are about to arrive at your house simultaneously. She was wearing the dress she'd picked out herself, yellow, with small white flowers. She had asked twice that morning if we were expecting anyone else. I told her this was everyone. At some point between pin the tail and the cake, my phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced at it the way you do when you're not really expecting anything. My mother had posted 4 photos: a soccer field, folding chairs, my stepbrother's son mid-kick, 1 cleat off the ground, my father in the background, hands cupped around his mouth, cheering. The timestamp read 11:14 a.m. I looked at the photos for a moment. Then I looked at my daughter, frosting on her chin, laughing at something one of her friends had said. I screenshot all 4 images. I opened the folder. I added them without renaming anything. Then I placed my phone face down on the counter, picked up the cake knife, and went back to the party. I didn't say a word to anyone. The Venmo request. 9 days passed. No card arrived in the mail. No phone call came in the evening. No text asking how the party went, whether she liked her cake, whether she had a good day. 9 days of nothing, which I had almost started to normalize, the way you normalize a draft in a room you've stopped trying to fix. Then the notification appeared. $2,600 requested, not asked about in conversation, not preceded by a phone call, not accompanied by a message explaining the timing, just a number, sitting in the app, waiting. It was itemized. I scrolled through it slowly. $1,100 listed as medical copay reimbursement, a bill I had helped cover in March, during a week when my father's insurance had lapsed, and I hadn't thought twice about it. $900 marked as loan repayment, referencing money I had transferred 14 months ago and never once mentioned again. $600 described, simply, as MISC support. No note below the total. No acknowledgement of the previous 9 days. No question about how she was doing. No mention of her name. I sat with the number for a long time. Then I opened the folder. 3 screenshots. 11 words on a Wednesday. For photos timestamped. 11:14 a.m. 1 itemized request with no greeting attached. I looked at all of it together, the way you look at something when you're finally ready to see it clearly. Then I made a decision. I called them the following evening, after my daughter was in bed. I set my phone on the kitchen table and put it on speaker before the first ring finished. My spouse was sitting across from me, hands wrapped around a mug, not speaking. I had not asked them to stay. They had simply not left, and I had not told them to. My father answered. I told him I had questions about the request. He said the charges were legitimate. He used that word, legitimate, with the particular confidence of someone who has already rehearsed the conversation. The medical copay was documented, he said. The loan repayment was overdue. The miscellaneous amount reflected things that were difficult to categorize, but real nonetheless. I wrote down the word legitimate in the margin of the notepad in front of me. Then my mother spoke. She said the birthday wasn't a big deal. She said my daughter wouldn't even remember it. She said I was being sensitive in the way she has always said it, with a slight exhale before the word sensitive, as if my feelings were a weather pattern she had learned to wait out. I wrote down wasn't a big deal. I wrote down being sensitive. I underlined neither. I just wrote them down. I thanked them for clarifying. I said I would be in touch. I ended the call. My spouse looked at me from across the table. You're not going to yell? I shook my head. There was nothing left to yell about. I had moved past that somewhere between the soccer photos and the itemized list, quietly, without announcing it. I declined a request that night. I typed the note carefully. The way you write something you know may eventually be read by someone other than the intended recipient. 8 words. I'm not in a position to send this right now. No elaboration. No apology for the brevity. I hit confirm and set the phone down. Then I opened my laptop. The school's emergency contact portal took 4 minutes to update. I removed both names, saved the changes, and received a confirmation email at 9:47 p.m. The pickup authorization form took slightly longer. There was a secondary field I had to clear manually. After that, I opened a document I hadn't looked at in 2 years. The update took 11 minutes. I saved it, closed it, and shut the laptop. I checked Facebook once, not looking for anything specific. My mother had posted a throwback photo from 7 years ago. My father had commented a single heart beneath it. 3 of my stepbrother's relatives had already liked it. They were still commenting on each other's posts when I closed the tab. The school called my mother before my mother called me. She had phoned the front office 2 weeks later to confirm the pickup arrangement for the science fair, the same one she had handled without incident for 3 years running. The receptionist checked the system, apologized politely, and told her she wasn't listed as an authorized contact for my daughter's file. My mother called me 4 minutes later. I answered on the second ring. I had my notepad open on the counter in front of me, the same one from the kitchen table, the same handwriting from the speaker call. I let her finish the first sentence before I said anything. Then I read from my notes the date of the party, March 15th, the timestamp on the Facebook post, 11:14 a.m. During the party, the exact wording of the Venmo request, medical copay, loan repayment, MISC support, no accompanying message. The date the school contact list was updated, 9 days after the party, 3 days after the request arrived. I read all of it in the same voice I use when I'm explaining something to my daughter for the second time, calm, specific, without editorial. My mother went quiet somewhere between the timestamp and the Venmo itemization, the particular quiet of someone who has just understood that the other person has been keeping records. I told her I hoped the science fair went well. I told her my daughter had worked hard on her project. Then I said goodbye and ended the call. There was no second call that afternoon. I stood in the kitchen afterward and noticed the drawing on the counter. Corners curled, colors slightly faded now. I picked it up for the first time in 6 months. I looked at it for a moment, at the careful letters, at the sun in the upper right corner. Then I opened the junk drawer and placed it inside, face up, and closed it gently. She called back 4 hours later. I let it go to voicemail. I still haven't listened to it. If you have ever stood in your own kitchen, at your own child's party, and felt the specific weight of protecting them from something you never had a name for growing up, you already know what this costs. Not the dramatic kind of cost, the quiet kind, the kind where you smile through the afternoon and file things away and say Grandma got busy, to a child who deserves a better answer. If you've ever had to explain to your child why Grandma didn't show up and had no good answer, drop a comment below. You already know you're not alone. 3 months have passed. My parents have not visited. There has been no formal conversation, no mediated discussion, no letter arriving with an explanation inside it. My mother sent a text in the first week, something brief and not quite an apology, more of a gesture in that direction, and I replied with 2 sentences that were polite and did not invite continuation. My father has not reached out directly. The voicemail remains unlistened to, not out of anger anymore, but because I have stopped needing to know what it says. What changed is quieter than I expected. My daughter has stopped asking about them, not abruptly, gradually, the way children release things they've quietly concluded aren't coming. She still mentions her stepbrother's kids occasionally, The way she would mention any peripheral fact about the world, but the specific hoping has faded, and I notice its absence the way you notice a sound that used to be constant. One morning last month, I watched her at the kitchen table, working on something with her markers, the same careful deliberateness she has always had, the way she presses lightly first, then goes back over the lines. She was making something for her teacher, a thank you card, she told me, because her teacher had stayed late to help her understand the fraction unit. She signed it with her full name, the way she signs everything important. I thought about the drawing in the drawer. After she left for school, I went to the junk drawer and took it out. I looked at it for a moment, the labeled figures, the sun in the corner, her name in the bottom right, age 7. Then I walked to the filing cabinet in the hallway, found the folder marked with her name, and placed it inside with her other things, not thrown away, not displayed filed. Some things deserve to be kept without being waited on. There is a particular kind of protection that leaves no visible mark, no dramatic confrontation, no door slammed for effect, no moment you can point to later and say, that is where it changed. Just a form submitted quietly, a drawer closed gently, a name removed from a list before anyone thought to check it. My daughter does not know what I did, or why, or what it cost to do it calmly. She knows her teacher liked the card. She knows fractions make more sense now. She knows Saturday mornings belong to us. That is enough. For now, that is exactly enough. She still draws pictures sometimes, careful ones, with everyone's names written underneath. She just stopped making ones for them. I never told her to. She just knew.